and that tension is going to manifest slowly in interpersonal tension, then social tension, then international tension, then it's going to be war, right? It's going to be international war. So it's important to understand that line in Gasset. Hence, we apply the term mass to the kind of man, not so much because of his multitude, as because of his inertia. And I just want to read Revolt again and mass, because this is very important. So by revolt, we mean what? Revolution is not the uprising against a pre-existing order, but the setting up of a new order contradictory to the traditional one. That order is the order of inertia, right? That order for Gasset is the order of inertia. So that's what we mean by revolt. So the revolt is the construction of the order of inertia. Revolt is the construction of the order of inertia. By inertia, I mean all the things that I listed before. Masses, so the revolt is the construction of the order of inertia. Masses is the individual who is unwilling to recognize his obligation to others and only others' obligation to him. So I've constructed this order of passivity, of indulgence, of absorption, and I have simultaneously mandated your obligation to me and my refusal to serve you. That is the revolt of the masses. That is precisely what is meant by the revolt of the masses. And unfortunately, though this speaks to individual human beings within the mass, you can imagine that if every one of us is like this, the complete horror that is inevitably going to unfold. With that being said, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell. I hope you appreciate what Gasset has to offer in Chapter 7. In Chapter 7 now, we now have a full understanding of what he means by both revolt and masses. We understand what the revolt of the masses is. We understand the implications of the revolt of the masses. We understand that by revolt, he doesn't mean a coup, right? We understand by masses, he doesn't mean a multitude. So this is very, very deceiving. By revolt, he means this, this construction of an inertia, right? This construction of passivity, this passive existence of having others do for us and not acting on our own. And by masses, he doesn't mean the multitude. He means by masses the individual who relegates himself to a life of being served by, right? And not serving for. So what's very, very important to recognize what Gasset is actually doing, though not directly, and what I might end up doing later, very directly, is he's actually giving us the foundation for what I would call a philosophy of service, right? He's giving us the preconditions, the conditions with which we can intelligently discuss the notion of service, right? A philosophy of service. And you can't really think of service if you ascribe to these tenets, right? You can't view yourself as working, being limited, being obligated to others, to serving for others, if you think of yourself as this, right? As the master of your own castle, as not willing to do anything and have others do for you, as being egotistical and being concerned almost incessantly with consumption, with your own brilliance, with your own money, with your own power, with your own position. That cannot work. For Gasset, the only way that society moves, the only way that we progress to a higher epoch, to a greater plenitude of the times, is by humbling ourselves, right? Not by indulging ourselves in ourselves, right? Because if we sit around and do all this glad handling and saying, oh, we're so great, and all this grandstanding and all of this, patting on the back and self-indulgence, we become static. We become passive. You become narcissistic. You spend your time in the mirror. You spend your time looking at your reflection in the river. You spend your time celebrating the accolades that you were given, not that you earned. your heredity, your nobility, has not been earned. It's been given, and therefore you aren't really noble, right? So we recognize now in chapter 7 the noble life. We understand what that is. We understand what the common life is. We understand what effort is, and we understand what inertia is. So in effect, we understand chapter 7. With that being said, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch these videos. We're almost halfway through. There's 15 chapters, and eventually this will be done, and we'll be on to something else. We'll accept a new obligation for ourselves. With that, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell. I hope you found chapter 7 as edifying as I found it. I appreciate you taking the time to watch these videos. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.